Excuse me as I kiss the sky.
You are now listening to the God Queen podcast.
Good morning, it is Soncerae here. Welcome to the God Queen Live. It is 5 a.m. here in Northern California. The sun isn't up yet, and I'm telling you, these stars, man, I can see every single star in the sky. Like, in Northern California, it's just one of those beautiful places, man. I mean, everywhere you look, it's just beautiful. And that's one of the main reasons why I love living here too, because when I first moved here and I was pregnant, I was about 5 or 6 months pregnant, I could have easily slipped in like some serious depression. Like, I had postpartum depression after I had my son, but I was depressed in the middle of my pregnancy. I was in a high-risk pregnancy. I couldn't leave Atlanta until after my first trimester, and I was a little worried. You know, I was thinking maybe I couldn't fly, so I had to wait and make sure I was okay first before I flew. So then when I flew here, and it was a terrible flight for me because, you know, I was engaged to be married. I was madly in love with someone, and I was pregnant with their child, and they broke up with me in the middle of a pregnancy to get back with an ex. This is the excuse they were giving. To get back with an ex, and I was just hurt. Like, it was terrible. I got on the flight. I cried the whole flight. The flight was 5 hours, okay? But when I got to Oakland and I looked out the window when I was like flying, and I saw like this beautiful, and it was nighttime when I got here too, and it was just beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, this place. And from then on, anytime I felt some type of way to where I felt like I was super duper depressed, I would just go outside and look at the beauty around me. And it's very, very difficult to be like depressed in this place. It's just not one of those places that you can, be that way with. So anyway, I just love this place. If it wasn't for my supporters sending me donations, I never would have moved to this place. So if you sent me a donation, I really appreciate that. Like, you have no idea how much you saved me. Like, you saved my life sending me a donation. And crowdfunding really helped me a lot when I was trying to transition from living in Atlanta to moving here. And when my son was first born, it was really helpful to me. So thank you so much for that. That really means a lot to me. And so when I first moved here, like I said, I was homeless. Everybody knows when I first moved here, I was homeless because when I left Atlanta, I had been living in a hotel with priests, right? And in the back of his truck. And, of course, I didn't have anywhere to live. Now, how I ended up living in the trunk with him, how I ended up living in the trunk with him was we were looking for places to live, and he suggested we move into an extended stay, and I wasn't necessarily thinking that was a good idea. Plus, his mom and his mom's new husband, they wanted us to come and move with them and help them pay, the rent of their new home, because they just got a new home. And so they had just gotten married, and they wanted, me and Priest to come and move with them. And Priest didn't want to live with them. And I'm not sure why. I think it had something to do with the way her husband ran his household, because he had like cameras and stuff in his house. And so Priest felt uncomfortable with that. So we ended up not doing that, even though, that was like the plan for a couple of weeks. Like, we were really talking about that. I think we talked about that for a little bit over a month. And so we didn't do that. So we ended up like in hotels, and then suddenly, the money started dwindling down because I wasn't working as much. I was sick. Anyone who knows the first trimester of pregnancy is like terrible. So I was like so sick. And so when he decided to just leave me there, because he didn't have his priorities in order. He was thinking about sleeping with other women and getting back with his ex and people on the internet. Just a whole bunch of immature shit that didn't have anything to do with, the plans that we made for our lives. I mean, to sit there and have conversations about marriage and kids and building businesses and homes together, and to turn around and see that this man was not on the right track at all. Like, he did not know how to prioritize. He was just concerned about the wrong shit. I just been looking at him like, you over here talking to me about the internet and fucking sleeping with your exes and all this foolishness. I was just looking at him like, yo, you like Forrest Gump dumb. So anyway, when he decided to leave, and, I didn't beg him to stay. I remember the first time he tried to leave, I said to him, I want one unit. I want a family unit. I don't want you to leave. I want us to sit here and work out our relationship. Because sometimes relationships are not easy. Sometimes they can get hard, and we're supposed to work past that as a couple. And it's supposed to be me and you versus the problem, not me and you versus each other. Me and you versus the problem. And so the first time he said he wanted to go, I said, okay, I don't want you to leave, but if you want to go, you can go. And then he turned around and he came back on his own, right? Then he turned around and he said he needed space, so he left again. All right, and I was like, okay. He turned around and came back on his own. Then he said he needed space again, so he left again. And then he came back on his own. And to me, I think when he was leaving, what he was doing was spending time with other women. Because when he came back that third time, he would do little stuff like, he was supposed to be home by like 4, and here it was like 7:30, 8 p.m., and he wouldn't be home yet. He wouldn't be back at the the studio part, the extended stay hotel. He wouldn't be back. And I would be wondering where he was, and then come to find out he'll be out having dinner with, some people from work, some girls from work that he worked with. And instead of him saying that to me, in advance or telling me that's what he was doing, he just wouldn't say anything at all. And then I'll have to go out there and find him. So this is when the relationship started to get too much for me, because I'm like, I'm not about to be in a relationship with somebody that don't know how to communicate about where they going and leaving me sitting somewhere. Like, at least say where you going. Like, I was sitting in the house hungry, pregnant, looking for him, don't know where he at. He out eating. He out to eat with another woman. And I'm sitting here waiting on him so I could eat. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you come home at the same time every day. We're supposed to have dinner. And if you decide to go have dinner with someone else, regardless to who you with, you could at least have common courtesy or human decency to tell me this so I can go eat, on my own. So these are the type of issues that we were having amongst so many. I mean, and it was just his behavior. It wasn't necessarily our relationship that we would sit there and argue about. It would be like stuff like that he would do. And I'm just like, yo, what's really going on with you? And so anyway, I eventually found out that he was just sleeping with other women and, whatever. And so, anyway, when I got to California and I didn't have anything, at first I was staying with, family. And then people from the internet were kind of being extra with my family. And so I'm like, listen, it's okay for people to keep messing around with me because, I'm a social media personality. I'm a public figure. I'm the person that gets on the internet, talks about my life experiences, it tries to help people, tries to bring social change. I'm the women's rights activist. So I'm expecting people to come bother me because, that's what nasty trolls do, right? But when they start trying to affect my family, it's a whole nother thing because my family members have a different lifestyle than me. They don't live how I live. I'm the only one in my family who is in the entertainment industry. There was no one else in my family like that. So my family isn't walking around being all on the internet and doing reality TV and doing movies. And I don't have that family. My family are people like who are into psychology. My aunt is a psychologist. One of my other family members works for FEMA. One of my other family members works for the FBI. You know, one of my cousins, he works in IT. You know, that's why I moved to San Francisco to begin with, because my cousin was in IT and he was saying that this is technology world, so I'll always be able to find somewhere to work. Right? That was the main reason why I moved here, because this is San Francisco. You know, this is technology world. This is the hub. This is where all the tech jobs at. From here to Menlo Park, you know, to San Jose. It's jobs all up and through here. So I was like, okay, that should be cool. And then I have, you know, other family members here. Not just my cousin, but my mom lived here at the time. And she lives here now, but at the time she lived here. And then when I moved there, something terrible happened when I moved here. Something terrible happened, and she had to move to D.C. for the remainder of my pregnancy, and she didn't come back here until my pregnancy was over. And when I saw that people were like messing with my life to where they would do stuff like send the police to my family's house, and the police would be sitting here like, why are people sending, you know, us out here? Like, this is stupid. And my cousin has his own personal life. You know, he has his own kids, his own wife, and his own issues and stuff. So this stuff was like piling on. So I was like, listen, I have to separate myself from my family. I have to do this on my own. I love that my family is helpful and they want to be there for me, but at the same time, I'm not about to let internet trolls fuck with my life. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna start staying in a hotel. I'm gonna stay in a hotel until I find a place to stay. And so this is when things got strange as far as trying to file for government assistance. Now, I remember everyone was telling me to file for all of this stuff when I was in Atlanta. Everybody was like, well, file for WIC, file for, you know, public housing, file for whatever you can, file for, what is it that when you get paid monthly? It's a CalWorks. File for Medi-Cal, file. And for me, you know, I had corporate jobs. So I paid taxes, you know, and I had to pay taxes for my business. So I paid taxes. And of course, to me, being on government assistance is not a bad thing for someone who has worked and paid taxes, because that's what you pay your taxes for. You know, people who don't work and then they turn around and they file for government assistance and they've never paid taxes a day in their life. You know, and I don't mean just on purchases, because you got to pay taxes on purchases. But if you gone to work, right, and if you've made any type of real money, when you look at your paycheck and you see all that money that they took out, you're like, God damn. You know what I mean? Like, that was me, because I'd be like, damn, they took a lot of money out of my check. You know what I mean? They took a whole 2 pay periods. How I got this check. You know what I'm saying? That's what that shit felt like. And so, if you pay taxes, you should never ever feel uncomfortable with filing for any type of government assistance. I don't care how many other people try to make you feel bad for it. You know, it's a part of life. Sometimes you get down in the dumps, and sometimes you need help getting out. And so that's what government assistance is supposed to be for. It's supposed to be a temporary thing, not something that you just continue to use forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So anyway, I went to file for whatever I could. I took everybody's advice. I tried to file for everything. And because of my YouTube check, which is so weird, my YouTube check was too high, and they wouldn't give me any type of public assistance. Now, what they did give me is emergency financial assistance, which was only like $300, right? And that's the only thing they would give me, because I needed something immediately. That's the only thing that they would give me. And I was just like, damn, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I also filed for WIC. And WIC is a federal nutrition program. And it's not funded by the government. It's not like a government organization. So it's funded by the Food and Nutrition Service. And it's under the Department of Agriculture. So it's not a government organization. You understand what I'm saying? WIC is a nonprofit. Basically, the NWA is a nonprofit that advocates for like WIC, the WIC program. So it's like a separate thing from the government. So when I filed for child support, right, and I got my little measly $269 or $4 or whatever it is. When I did file for it, by the time we got through the entire process, because it took a lot of time. Like, I literally went up to that office. Oh my God. I went up to that office so many times, the Child Support Services office. And I went up there so many times. And it was like a process. It went on. It was like a 3 to 5 month process. I don't know what took that shit so long, but it could have been because Priest was in Georgia and I was in the state of California. It could have had something to do with that. So anyway, when I filed, and they factored in my income and stuff like that, and that determined how much money I would get. I would be rewarded for child support, and it was only $269. And I remember doing a podcast, or I think I wrote a blog too, and I did a podcast on the God Queen Live podcast, and I was talking about how when I would receive my child support payments monthly, it would only be like $50. And I was like, why is this $50? Now, it would have made sense that it was $50 because I was rewarded $269, but for some reason I was only getting $50 a month. And it would have made sense that I was getting $50 a month if I was on like government assistance, right? But I wasn't. So I was sitting there confused. I was like, why do I keep getting only $50? And because I didn't really necessarily need child support like that, I wasn't making a fuss about it. I was like, just whatever. Because when I first found out I was getting $269 a month, supposedly, when I found out I was rewarded $269, I was confused, like, how is that enough money for any child, especially a child living in California? The least that this man should be paying is $400. That's the least this man should be paying on child support. But when I filed, he was quote unquote unemployed. So eventually he ended up getting a job and his pay is now garnished. And I can increase my child support now, but I want to wait till Justice is 2, which is in May. I can wait till he's 2, and I'm going to file for a motion to increase it then. Because $269 is nothing. Okay, that's bullshit. You understand? For any child. I mean, you guys know how expensive children are if you have any. $269 is some foolishness. So, I was only getting $50 a month, though. But because I work so hard and I make so much money and I do so many things, I was just like, I was barely caring. I wasn't even thinking about it. And so it would make sense for me to have $50 monthly if I was on like some government assistance. The only type of assistance they gave me was emergency assistance. Like months ago, that when I was still pregnant, and it was like only $300. So I couldn't understand. I was like, why are they taking money out my check? And so it wasn't until, and I didn't even do a video about this then when I did it. I should have made a video about it or did a podcast about it, but I wasn't even thinking to do it. I had so much other stuff going on. But I remember making the podcast about this and how, I wasn't on government assistance. I wasn't on Section 8 because they don't have like Section 8 open anywhere in the counties of like, any county I've seen, like, they don't have it. I don't see it anywhere. I don't know anybody that's on it either. I haven't even heard anybody say that they're on it. Like, even people who live in the hood, I haven't heard them say no shit about, like Section 8 or anything like that. Section 8 is just not available in the Bay. Like, I just never heard of that, and anyone who lives in the Bay, I don't know if you know anything about Section 8, but if you do, you're welcome to put it inside of my comment section. Wherever, if you're listening to me on Spreaker, or I think you can put some comments on when I post this on YouTube. So if you live in the Bay Area and you know anything about Section 8, let me know, because I didn't know that Section 8 was here. Like, I didn't know they had that type of housing. So anyway, Well, okay, so I went to the child support services office and I said, listen, and I don't know why it only took me saying this, but I said it. I said, listen, I rewarded $264 a month. And for some reason, I only been getting $50 a month deposited into my son's bank account. What's really going on? What's going on? When I said that, suddenly they decided to give me the whole payment. Now I get $264. I was like, what was the shift? And I remember doing a video, or not a video, a podcast, and I was talking about how I read this article in the New York Times where they were talking about how with child support, it's a lot of people on child support that basically aren't getting the money they're supposed to get because the child support services place is actually the ones who are taking all of the money. They're benefiting more from child support than the person that's supposed to be receiving the payment. And I was like, wow, I'm shocked. But it did say in the article that if a person is on government assistance, then a piece of their child support is taken, right? And even if they aren't, a piece of it can be taken, or even if they were on it before, a piece of it can be taken for good, right? And I was like, wow, like, this is interesting. Like, I was just shocked. But yeah, they giving me $269 now. They gave it to me. And all that time, all I had to do was speak up. I didn't know. Because I wasn't paying attention. I should have just said something earlier. But I got like, listen, here's the weird part. Usually I only get one child support payment a month. For some reason, I got like 3 this past month, like 3 or 4. I kept getting deposits. So I think what they were doing was depositing old money that they had kept. It was weird. I kept saying to my mother, yo, I keep getting child support deposits. It's so strange. So anyway, at first I didn't want to file for child support because, you know, I just didn't feel like it was something I needed. Because I didn't want my son's father to be in my life. You know, to me, him being in my son's life is also still very questionable, but I still gave him the opportunity to prove that he could be a good father to Justice. And Priest still sucks at it. He's still a deadbeat. And the only reason why I get child support is because his pay is garnished. He has no choice. But if it was up to him, it would still be as backed up as it was before his pay was garnished, because it's still backed up. I think it's backed up about $500 now. Before it was $8. Now it's $500. So it's kind of catching up. But for the most part, I don't think Priest would pay child support if his pay wasn't garnished. I think he would fuck that up because he's an irresponsible person. So I think he would have fucked it up. Probably ended up in jail, lost his damn license, all types of stuff. So anyway, I don't think his pay was garnished until I told the child support people that he wasn't paying it. Because before, I wasn't saying anything. Like, that's what it does. That's what I think a lot of women who are on child support, who don't get their child support, that's why I think they don't get it. Because they don't speak up. Like, you got to speak up with shit like that, you know? And when I said something, they garnished his pay. I'm so sick. Lord, I am so sick. I have like a weird, I don't know. I thought I had pneumonia a couple of weeks ago. I thought I had pneumonia. I was worried. I was like, yo, I need to know what's going on. But I had like, I said this before in my podcast, like sometimes you hear my voice, like I lose my voice. Sometimes my voice sounds really, really deep when I'm doing a podcast. And then sometimes if I'm driving, and I'm doing a podcast at the same time, I'm like speaking really high. It's like my voice is like high and annoying. I'm like, ugh, I've been listening to the playback. Like, it's so disgusting. Like, I wish I could not sound like this. So anyway, but yeah, when they were taking money out of my check, I thought, is it because I signed up for a WIC or, I don't know, but it just because a woman signs up for a WIC, it doesn't mean that it's not a government program. So you're not going to get like monies deducted from your child support check that you were rewarded because of WIC. You know, if anything, if you are like on some type of Taft, or like SNAP, or maybe, you know, if you get some type of monthly fee from the government, or maybe you're on Section 8 or something like that. I don't know enough about government assistance programs to be able to give a detailed description about how it works. And maybe that's something I should look into so I can do more videos talking about that. But I feel like as women, you know, if you want to file for some type of government assistance, I don't think that you should be ashamed of it at all, especially if you file for taxes. Now, I'm not suggesting that women go out here and be welfare queens, but as much as people think that there are programs out there for single moms, let me tell you something about programs for single mothers. Most programs, right? Most of these programs, government programs, you literally have to have nothing. I mean, you can't work. You can't do anything. Or they're not going to reward you anything. They're not going to give you any money. It's like you literally have to be working like minimum wage or something. You can't have a job and be on government assistance where you're making like, you know, more than I think maybe $20,000 a year and be on government assistance. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make less than $20,000 a year to get help as a single mother. Okay? And a lot of single moms, of course, they're out here working, right? Most of the single mothers I know are working. Most of the single mothers I know are not sitting here on government assistance. I'm sorry. I'm just not even in Atlanta. I was seeing that. You know, and maybe, like I said before in a previous podcast, maybe it's because I wasn't living in like the hood. I wasn't living in the ghetto. I wasn't living in poverty. So I didn't turn around and see other single mothers just sitting here on government assistance. Most of the single mothers I saw were nurses and doctors and lawyers and chiropractors and, you know, real estate people. And I'm sorry, the women around me were not like that at all. And most of them honestly had the fathers of their children around. You know, they were paying child support or they were physically there. So I don't know a lot of women who are single mothers and the fathers of their children are deadbeats. What I have been seeing, you know, on the internet, like that's where I see a lot of deadbeat stuff. I see a lot of deadbeat stuff. People say on like Facebook or something like that. People email me that their baby daddies are deadbeats. But it's not a lot of women I know that have deadbeat baby daddies. I have a friend who was married. She was married to a pastor, and they had a set of twins together. And he was cheating like crazy with her, so them two left each other. She used to watch my videos all the time. And he left her. And so she ended up getting the house and everything, and she ended up remarrying. And when he decided to leave, like when they got the divorce, he started taking care of the twins. And so he's the only deadbeat dad I've heard of out of all of the women I know that are single moms. And most of the women I know that are single moms are remarried. You know, or they're in like committed relationships. So, you know, the stereotypes that I hear about single moms all the time, I just don't experience it. I just never seen any single moms like that unless I'm looking on the internet of other people speak this way about these women. So I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, deadbeat mamas and ghetto ratchet baby mamas don't exist. I'm sure they do, but I've just never seen any. So when I speak about single motherhood, I'm talking about mothers who I can relate to, you know, moms who are out here working and have jobs and trying to take care of their kids after these divorces and, you know, after they're abandoned by the men that they were in these committed relationships with. Not women that's walking around here being some dudes jump off and they're walking around here with 4 and 5 baby daddies and they're, you know, all of these stereotypes. That's not even what I'm even seeing. So it's hard for me to talk from that perspective. I can talk from a different perspective. But anyway, so in order for women to get on government assistance, you got to literally be doing nothing with your life. Like, seriously. Because I remember when I went to sign up and I was thinking, you're telling me I can't get government assistance with this itty-bitty ass YouTube check? This YouTube check is not even big. Like, this is not even a big ass check. This is a tiny check. Like, I think the most that I've gotten off of YouTube monthly is maybe $7,000. I haven't even reached 10,000. And during my time of pregnancy, I wasn't even getting 7,000. I think I was getting $2,000 a month off of that channel. You know, around that time when I filed, I was pregnant. It was 2 years ago. So I think I was getting $2,000 a month off that channel. And right now, I'm barely getting that because I barely post. Like, if I could get back to posting how I was, I'd probably end up getting $2,000 a month off of it. But right now, and then to me, $2,000 a month was nothing, especially in California. I was like, but they was like, no, you cannot. You make too much money. Like, you forget it. And so that's the issue with why my child support was low too. Because I had a YouTube check, I had a regular job check, I got my graphic design business. I'm making all this money. And they was like, okay, well, you the breadwinner, so he the one unemployed. So we're just going to give you $264. I was like, damn. Single fathers got it easier than they think. Single fathers got it so easy. Deadbeat dads got it easier than they think. They be walking around here complaining about having to pay child support and how they baby mama this and that. I'm like, nigga, you got it easy. You understand? Financially, if you don't have the responsibility of having to take care of a child every day, like I literally have to get up every day. I don't have a day where I could just lay down and lounge around and not take care of my son like these fathers do. I don't get the luxury of that. I have to literally get up every day and take care of my son. You understand? And to me, I don't mind taking care of my son because that's my son. You know, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm happy to be able to wake up every morning with my son and see him right there playing and doing whatever it is that he's doing. He loved playing with trucks. He like Boston trucks. So it's trucks all over the house. You know, I enjoy being my son's mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see how any father could not want to be in the home, you know, of a child or the life of a child. Like, something has to be really, really wrong with you for you to feel comfortable with that. Now, if you were the type of person who didn't want children from the beginning, you know what I mean? You might want to strap up. Like, you can't be the man out here that's saying, hey, I don't want to have kids. That's what your mouth say. But then you stick your eggplant in some woman without protection and you got a weak pullout game. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want kids, you might need to strap up. I don't want kids. But then you expect for when a woman gets pregnant to turn around and have an abortion for you. Listen, we literally got to screw up our bodies to not have a baby for you when you could have just put on a condom and saved yourself. You know, it makes sense. That's why I don't understand when men claim they don't want babies and then they turn around and populate the earth. It's like, dude, you said you didn't want kids. You might want to strap up. But that's not my situation with me and my son's father. I remember when we first got together, he was talking about how he didn't want kids too soon. I remember we were talking about that. We were talking about, matter of fact, the texts are up on my website, I think on my WordPress. We were talking about when we first got together, it's a screenshot of he and I talking back and forth, and we were talking about how we didn't want kids, you know, right then. And of course, we wouldn't want kids with each other right there. We had just met. I think we had only been on like one date. So of course we didn't want kids with each other. Like, why would we want kids back then? But then when time went by and we went on our dates and we decided to be together, we decided we wanted to be together forever and all that shit, then the tune started changing. And he was just like, yeah, I want kids with you. I want to be married with you. I want to have 3 kids, you know. And I got him on live stream saying this. He's like, I want to have 3 kids. And we're getting married soon and all of this. And then I turn around and get pregnant. Shit get real for him. And he's like, I don't want kids. I'm not ready. You want to tell me you don't want kids and you're not ready when I'm like 5 months pregnant? Boy, you out your mind? Like, are you crazy? Like, why didn't you say all this before that? And so the conversation of me giving my child up for adoption became a conversation. We never talked about abortion. He never wanted me to get an abortion. But we did talk about putting justice up for adoption. And I was just like, I can't do that. I just was like, I'm his mom. Like, what I look like putting my baby up for adoption? Let me just take care of him. Let's just take care of him, you know? And we don't have to be together to take care of him. If you don't want to be with me and that's the reason why you suddenly don't want kids, because you want to sleep around and fuck with other women, like, it's too late for all that. Like, you're going to have to handle your responsibility. I respect any man who didn't want to have kids and then he ended up in a relationship with someone, or he ended up sleeping with somebody and he wasn't smart enough to protect himself, but then the girl ended up pregnant and he still showed up as a father. I have any respect. I have so much respect, the utmost respect for men who do that, because you're handling your responsibilities. You didn't have to. You could choose to make your life even more complicated. You know, you could choose to take this woman through all of these issues, making her get a DNA test, making her have to file for child support, little crazy shit like that, and running away from your responsibilities, not taking care of your kids. Men out there who have decided to just go ahead and take care of their kids regardless, I got an ample amount of respect for you, man. It's like, because it's really men out there who are irresponsible. It's really men out there who are that cold-blooded that don't want to take care of their kids. Like, don't want to physically be there for their children. And that's so unfortunate on so many levels. So I have mad respect for men who do that. And anyway, I don't think any woman, back to what I was saying, I don't think any woman should feel some type of way about filing for assistance if you aren't, like, taking advantage of it, meaning, like, doing welfare fraud. And I remember somebody who was making fun of me about, my situation and filing for child support. I remember I was looking into their background because somebody did a background check on them for me. And the very person that was making fun of me had been on trial or something like that for welfare fraud. One of their charges was for welfare fraud. They were sued for it or something like that. And I was just like, it's just weird that some people who chastise me for my experience, a lot of them have criminal records, like most of them. And the people that criticize me the most for my situation with my son's father, all of them had criminal records. Every single one of them had a criminal record. I was just like, wow, these people, like, just all types of just trauma issues. And so, I do feel like with time, like I said, I'm going to file a motion to get my child support increased. I'm not ashamed of getting help for my son, because I think a lot of black women want to do it on their own. You know what I mean? We don't want to deal with the fathers of our children either. So we're just like, listen, even if you're around, our kids are always going to want their mama anyway. So I'll just take care of them and you going on about your business. Because I remember that's how I was in the beginning of my pregnancy. I was like, listen, I don't want to have nothing to do with you anyway, especially after you humiliating me and then telling people our baby isn't yours and all this foolishness that you're doing. I don't want to have to deal with you at all. This is what I was thinking. So at first I was like, I'm not going to file for child support. I'm not going to ask for his help. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to have nothing to do with him. Everybody was like, no, Soncerae, you better hold him accountable. A lot of people. I think more people, I think it depended on the platform I was on and which platform I was using to talk about it. Because on YouTube, people was like, no, don't file for child support. Some people, no, don't file for child support. And then other people who had some sense on YouTube were like, yo, you need to file for that money is your child's money. You better get that money for your son. And then people on Facebook, everybody on Facebook, because everybody on Facebook know me. Everybody on Facebook been my friend since I was a kid. You know, all my college friends are on there, everything. They were like, you better file for child support. You better hold him accountable. Men too. You better get him. You better file for, you better get him for what he did. Oh, niggas is mad. Niggas is mad. Like my friends, even people who just on my Facebook friends list and they ain't never even met me before, but they know how I am because I post on Facebook all the time. They're like, that fuck boy, girl, do you want me to kill him? Do you want me to kill him? I was like, no, nigga, no, I don't want you to kill him. No. I remember my friend Cam was like, the other day we was talking, and he was like, your son's father, man, we thought he was like this this prize for you, man. We thought he was just like this good guy. And he was uplifting you and making you better. And come to find out, that nigga ain't even half of that. Like, you dated down. And I was like, yeah, basically. Like, I had no clue he was that bad. You know, like, I think like I've said before, I never would have dated a guy who would even thought about doing the stuff that he's done to me. But I don't think it occurred to me the severity of how screwed up he was until after I got pregnant. Because I was like, something is going on with this dude, like mentally. Something is not right with him spiritually. Something's not right with him emotionally. And it didn't come out until after I got pregnant. Basically, after I got that tiger's eye, I really got to do a podcast about that damn tiger's eye that spiritual guy gave me. Because, damn, listen, Priest introduced me to the spiritual guy. It was Priest who introduced me to him because the spiritual guy's mother used to be Hebrew Israelite with Priest, and they used to go to the same, like church or whatever. And so neither one of them are Hebrew Israelite anymore. And so Priest introduced me to the woman that she used to dread his hair too. And her son was like this, he was so spiritual. He was such a good kid. Like when we would sit down and he was a kid too. It was like 22. Like, right? That's a kid to me because I'm 40, you know what I mean? But he was like young. And he used to paint and stuff. And talking to him was good. So he gave me this bracelet. It had a tiger's eye on it. And if you know anything about crystals or stones, you know how powerful the crystals of the stones are. Child. I gotta do a whole podcast about that because y'all don't even understand with that one. Like that. In fact, I gotta get that out the way soon. I'm gonna do that soon because that was a whole nother experience. But I saw so much clarity. Like I saw Priest from a different angle because I was already seeing him change when I first got pregnant, but I don't think it was clear. I was looking at him like, this dude is something. I know something was telling me, like something was like, something's not right. Like something's going on with him deeper than, he just wants to sleep around with a whole bunch of people. I was like, something else is going on with him. Like he's messed up in some type of way. Man, that spiritual guy gave me that tiger's eye. I saw that nigga for who he was. It was almost like he ripped his face off. And I saw who he truly was. Like he took his mask off. And he was so ugly. He was so ugly. And I was like, oh my God. Like you are, I mean, the way I see my son's father now is I see him for who he is. And I think I could have loved him past his ugliness had he not treated my son the way he's treating my son. Because to me, if you could treat a child that way, something is really screwed up with you. Because children are innocent. They don't know any better. They don't know what's going on. So he treated me some type of way. And of course, I was upset about that. So, of course, I can put distance between he and I. So we could co-parent. When he took his mask off, and I saw that ugliness, I was like, this is not a person I could be with. This is not a person I could trust with a child. But just like I gave him a chance to be with me, I'm going to give him a chance to prove he could be a good father. Because I feel like my son deserves his mother putting forth every single effort to make sure his father is in his life. So I did everything I could. But dude is so ugly. And had I not put that damn tiger's eye on, I wouldn't have seen it to the full extent. Tiger's eye brings clarity. If you know anything about spirituality, you know that tiger's eye brings clarity. And had I not put that tiger's eye on my wrist and kept that tiger's eye, that bracelet on my wrist every day, I would have never seen how bad, how ugly Priest is with his mask off. That is one ugly ass dude. Like, I can't. Yo, when that nigga took that mask off, I ain't never seen nothing be so ugly. Like, you know how you get to know a person and then they got some flaws and you're like, okay, that's terrible what you did. You know, you're a bad person. You know, you made a mistake, stuff like that. There's a difference between a person making a mistake and then a person having something wrong with them to the core. To the core. That's Priest. He got something going on with him to the core. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to be mean. I'm dead ass serious. So sometimes I'm happy that he's not around my son, you know. Sometimes I'm okay with that. And a lot of times if you're a woman and you're out here and you have a child with a guy and this child is an alcoholic or maybe a drug addict or maybe he, you know, is physically abusive or he could be a murderer, a rapist, a pedophile, you know, that's the type of level ugliness I'm talking about. I'm not saying Priest is a murderer or a pedophile or anything like that, but the ugliness is on the same level. Just put it like that. I know things about dude that puts him on the same level as those type of people. Okay? And I think if he go out there and get counseling, because he refuses to go see a mental health professional, and he should, he needs to. But like when we went to counseling, when we was in a counselor's office, I could hear him, like, they gave us 2 separate counselors. I had a female counselor, he had a male counselor. There was a wall in between us. He was in the room next door. And I could hear him being smug and arrogant and nasty and making fun of me. Talking to the counselor. And I was like, something's not right with this dude. Like, he could at least have a level of respect for the counselor, or at least have a level of respect for our situation and behaved a certain way. But he was so smug and arrogant. And I remember the child support people, the child support office, they were telling me how smug he was and how cooperative he was at first, because he genuinely thought, and I don't know why he would think this, but I'm assuming it's because some people on the internet pumped his head up, because I ain't never, like, given my son's father a reason to think I was cheating on him. So the child support people was like, yo, he really was thinking that justice wasn't his. And the second he found out that justice was his, he has been giving us a problem ever since. He's been becoming more complicated since. Before he was easier to deal with. He was easier to get in contact with. He voluntarily walked into the child support services office. You know, he was like easy to deal with. But the second he found out justice was his, he started acting crazy. And I just was like, I don't know why suddenly he would be acting crazy. He should feel stupid. He should feel stupid. He should feel guilty. Not once did he apologize to me for accusing me of pinning a baby on him that wasn't his. He never apologized for that. He never apologized for that. And like I said, I never cheated on him. I never, like, did anything. Like, he's never, like, caught me in some, like, big conspiracy or something like that for him to believe that I would cheat on him. He was just listening to some rumors that some other niggas told him. Some people out there who tried to destroy my relationship with him because they wasn't happy with their own. They wasn't happy with their own situation. Because, like, I'm not about to sit up here and try to destroy somebody's marriage and relationship. I don't got time for that. That's not my business. I'm not fucking with that. I'm just not. That's not my thing. I'm not going to sit up here and try to destroy somebody's marriage, gossiping in somebody's ear about their husband or their wife. I'm just not going to do that. Or their boyfriend or their girlfriend. Because that's not my business. So, but people were doing that to him. And he was stupid enough to allow it. So, now that the relationship is over, and it can't be salvaged, because some stuff just is so much damage, you can't salvage it, even if you want to. So, now that that's over, as a mother and a father, co-parenting should be something that is considered for our kid. And he can't even function like a regular everyday person and just be there for his son. He can't even function like that's how much ugliness he got on the inside. He can't even function like a regular everyday person and just have a cordial, healthy situation, family-oriented situation, because his own situation, as far as his family goes, where he came from, is not stable. So he doesn't know how to have a stable situation outside of that. Like, he doesn't know how to have a stable situation in the family he created, because the family that he came from wasn't a stable situation. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes I feel like as a mother, right, when we go through what we go through as children, right, let's say, for instance, if we had bad relationships with our mothers, and this goes for fathers too. Let's say you had a bad situation with your mother or your father. You know how it feels to have this negative relationship. You know that it's uncomfortable to you. You know the things that you wouldn't do because you know how it feels. If you know how it feels, why would you bestow that on another child? On your own child especially. So that's why I don't get why men who didn't grow up with their fathers, that's why I don't understand why they don't take care of their children, because they know what it feels like to grow up without their father. My son's father had 2 fathers. Priest had 2 fathers. All right? Him and his biological father didn't have a good relationship. I'm not sure why. I never asked, but they just never did, and they didn't get close until he got older. All right? Now, that kind of reminds me of me and my mom. My mom is closer to my little sister. So it made sense to me. I could relate. But what I did with my daughter is I made sure that me and my daughter were closer than me and my mother. I made sure I gave my daughter everything my mother didn't give me, because I knew how it felt to not have those things. So I basically just became the mom that I wanted to have when I was young. I became the mother I used to want my mom to be. So my daughter is like, we have a great relationship with each other. Priest didn't have a good relationship with his biological father, right? His biological father left when he was like in his teens, early teens. Then he had a stepfather. He loved his stepfather. He loved his stepfather. And his stepfather was a good father to him, according to him. Now, some of the stories I'd have heard, but Priest loved him, and that's all that mattered. And then he ended up passing away. So, my thing is, as a father, as a man, right? You lost 2 dads, basically. Wouldn't you want to be a better father than both of your fathers combined? Wouldn't that make more sense? If you did everything you could to be a better father than both of your fathers combined, instead of you avoiding fatherhood altogether. Because avoiding fatherhood altogether is worse. It's the worst thing that you could do to your own blood. Avoiding motherhood, like think about kids who grew up in a foster care system. They want to know where they came from. Kids who were adopted, regardless of how good their parents were to them, regardless, still at the end of the day, they wanted to know who their birth parents were. We've heard stories like this. So I just feel like as mothers and fathers, we should strive to be better parents than our parents were to us. That's what makes you a good parent. Seeing how your parents raised you and then turn around and becoming a better parent than your parents. You feel me? That make more sense. That make more sense to me. But who am I? I'm just an activist. I'm just a motivational speaker. I'm just a inspiration to people. I'm just a regular human being that's going through some stuff. That's trying to talk to her people. You feel me? People in my tribe that I vibe with. That's who I'm talking to. So anyway, I appreciate you listening to my podcast and watching my live stream. Turn it to about 2 Tune into my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Soncerae fan, and make sure you follow me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Soncerae. I got Facebook Watch videos. I also have videos on Instagram TV, IGTV. So follow me on Instagram at The Real Soncerae, okay? Have vision and stay focused, y'all. Namaste.